Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of May 27th until June 3rd. Yes, June is here on our doorsteps. We are already near that halfway point of the calendar year, and we're going to be discussing, of course, what's happening in the astrological transits over this next week. But this is also an important time to just check in on your energy and how the pace of this year has felt for you. It is an accelerated tempo. That's something we've been discussing for a while, but now you might really be feeling that you're living on a higher timeline, that the energies have accelerated, but so have you. You are keeping pace, perhaps more easily at a cellular level with these increases in the time-space field. And because it feels as if we are living at this faster rate of life, we also may be guided to understand more about the value of time, what you are investing in, what you're thinking about, what you're focusing in on. Is this worth my time? Is this in alignment with the energies that I want active in my experience? Or am I prone to revert back into old patterns, old paradigms, and old previous levels of consciousness because I haven't broken a pattern or committed to the higher timeline? So this is a good time to check in again with your own energy, to accurately determine and observe how this year has unfolded for you and how your energy is adequately demonstrating your priorities, your values, and what matters to you. This could be a time, especially this week and into June, where you have some significant shifts in your own thought patterns, mental habits, communication practices, and essentially becoming more conscious of your mental energies. Now, this was active over the past week when we had very strong Gemini energy that kicked off Gemini season. If you'll recall, a week ago, the sun entered Gemini on May 20th and was conjunct both Sedna and then Uranus in the very early degrees of Gemini. So we've had a lot pulsing through us and a lot that's been activating us to be ready for change. Now, this could feel like it's been a very disruptive time period. It could feel like your best laid plans or what you thought might transpire never did or is not unfolding that way, because Uranus in Gemini brings in those surprises and unexpected developments that happen suddenly. So now as the sun moves further into Gemini, it is pulsing and bursting with new concepts, ideas, potentials, inspirations, and thought patterns that could be bringing you a whole new world of understanding, perceptions, and potentials. So in other words, our mental energy is very strong during this particular Gemini season, and we will need to then intentionally ground into the breath with Gemini energy as well. And that's because Gemini is the first air sign of the zodiac wheel. It is mutable air, and it's the air we inhale and exhale. But when we do so too slowly, we don't really take in that full replenishing deep breath. And so this is where breath work can be very supportive and grounding during Gemini season, as it can allow you to drop into the body, to allow yourself to disconnect from an overactive mind and return to the simplicity and the rhythm of breathing while trusting your own life force and supporting it as well. It's also essential to take a beat and ensure that you're thinking things through. You're not rushing to any quick impulsive decisions with strong Gemini energy, because this is also where we can take on too much and we can have a lot going on in multiple areas of our lives and then realized we are overworked, overstressed, too much is happening on your personal calendar. You can't do it all, and that only leads to greater exhaustion. So as we move further into Gemini season, we have the potential here to become more mindful of where our mental energy is going and to ask questions such as, does this serve me? Is this the best use of my time and of my amazing brain? Is this what I want to be thinking about? Is this what I want to be discussing or talking about with others? And the more mindful we become of these parts of ourselves, the more we start to see what is not worth our time and then devote energy to what is worth our time. So let's go into some of the themes here of this week. We're going to see Mercury enter Cancer, and this will bring in a calming influence as well to all of the very active, dynamic, on-the-go Gemini influences that have been underway. Now, I do need to let you know that this is a pre-recorded episode, and that's because my son's last day of school was last Friday, and I always take him on an end-of-school adventure. So we are having some fun together right now, and that's why if I don't mention any big world developments or important things that have happened, it's because this is pre-recorded. So let's get on with the energies that are closing out May and moving us into June. On May 28th, we have the soft, loving Venus in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries at 11 degrees. This particular square is where a mature part of you understands what you have to remove, what is excessive, and what ultimately isn't a part of the new path you are creating or moving towards. Now, that's because Venus in Cancer can be quite nostalgic and connected to previous experiences, past events, things that she's always loved, things she's always carried, whether that is physically or simply kept close to her heart. When she squares Saturn in Aries at 11 degrees, there's like this big mature realization that you don't need something anymore. Maybe it's no longer a fit. Maybe it has served its purpose and run its course. This could be a hard choice. This could be something that squeezes that Venus in Cancer and she has some tears around it. But this could also be where you're ready to declare, I don't want that anymore and I'm okay with it. Saturn in Aries is stronger here, but it could also feel that Venus in Cancer is more sensitive. She has more feelings around it. So just be gentle with yourself around May 28th. If something is transpiring and you're realizing I've been clutching onto something, but it isn't really a part of where I'm going next and a new pathway. Now, this square can also show up as individuals. So Venus in Cancer would be a younger feminine energy, a maiden, someone who is innocent and more open, coming up against that Saturn in Aries, Saturn connected to authority figures, father figures, those who are the decision makers and the leaders who are also operating from a place of self-interest in Aries. This could be the archetypal visual of a father figure telling a younger girl she can't take her favorite doll on the plane. Or there could be a no here from someone you answer to. Or you could be the Saturn in Aries who has to give someone a no and they take it to heart and it feels like it impacts them more personally. So this is just a day to be aware of the energetics of this square and that it could be a little bit more emotional depending on how the energies line up for you. Then on May 31st, the last day of the month, we have a big, bright Sagittarius full moon at 10 degrees of Sagittarius in your chart. So the moon is in the optimistic, abundant energy of Sagittarius, emotionally leading you forward into new adventures, new ways of viewing the world. This is an expansive full moon, and it trines Saturn at 12 degrees of Aries, bringing in stability, commitment, resources, discipline, and great support for long-term endeavors. This could be a Sagittarius full moon that you see the light around something that you've been thinking about, which is the sun in Gemini, and you could have some new understandings around what to do with that fiery, inspirational energy of Sagittarius. And there's movement here. There's a sense of, I'm ready to move this forward. I'm ready to do the thing. It could even feel more effortless and graceful, but it also has some grit to it with this trine from Saturn. Breakthroughs that work are happening. This is also a planning energy, being able to work with what you've got, bring it together, make something happen, and move it forward. Very much supporting anything that's only been discussed or something you've only been thinking about. This is now you take it out into the world and move with it. There's a renewal of faith and hope as well with the Sagittarius full moon. And because you may be ready to see the light of something or see it in a new way from a higher perspective, then you could have an understanding of what to do next that matters, how to make it count. I do have a separate video for you on YouTube discussing the Sagittarius full moon even more. If you want to go check that out on my channel, I go through more of the specifics in the chart with more messages as well. But overall, this is something that is inviting you to move forward with confidence, hope, faith, and renewed spirit around what you're ready to create, especially after that sun in Gemini has been disrupted and changed from that conjunction to Uranus. It's almost like if the pieces felt scattered and you weren't sure how to create the puzzle or what was needed that you were missing, this is going to give you that broader perspective. And I feel this as a highly spiritual life force could be moving you forward. Almost like you're ready for something and you don't fully understand it, but you know this is the direction to go. This is the path to take. And because there's strong fire energy with the Sagittarius full moon, movement is highlighted and will be easier to work with. Now, this is important to note because we are also moving away from that Mars in Taurus that was squaring Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And as their intense square separates, you could feel an alleviation from the pressure, the discomfort, or being locked into something that you didn't want. This would have been an intense power struggle or personal challenge that was coming up against what that Mars in Taurus values. That Mars in Taurus is motivated to create and build a life he wants and to not compromise it. And the square to Pluto would have brought in things that you didn't know about and you had to consider, but probably resisted and pushed away. Almost like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to use that. That's not important to me. That's not where I'm going. But Pluto always brings in something we're meant to understand at a deeper level. And so this would have been potentially fear-inducing, perhaps even destabilizing. But as we move through the rest of May into June, you might feel that whatever was challenged at a foundational level or literally felt like an earthquake of some kind has ultimately released a new vision of what's possible And it's required that Mars in Taurus to change. And that requirement would have felt like something coming up against your free will or what you readily wanted to choose. But as time passes, that Mars in Taurus remains steadfast, dedicated, and determined to follow what he wants and to not give up on it. And so there could be a reframe that's occurring. And then as the Sagittarius full moon energy shines brightly, you could see something in a whole new way that excites you and gives you, again, that return of energy, movement, and action. Now, on the same day as the Sagittarius full moon, we have Mercury in Gemini sextiling Chiron in Aries at 29 degrees. So a 29-degree sextile is a beautiful parting gift, a lovely way to close out what you've been learning, studying, and understanding that has personally formed new parts of yourself. Mercury in Gemini has been seeking information, understandings, concepts, and new ideas to pursue. The sextile to Chiron in Aries makes it personal. And at 29 degrees, there could be something here that really just clicks for you, but it feels effortless. It just flows in and arrives. It is a happy communication, a wonderful new idea, something that aligns. Maybe you've been waiting for it. It comes through effortlessly and it's enjoyable. This can bring about the understandings you've been waiting for, the conversations you've wanted to have. Again, perhaps there are parts of the puzzle that start to align and you're like, okay, this makes sense. This was the piece that was missing. This helps me form the story of what I've been healing and moving through. There could also be a desire to communicate, write, and share what your Chiron in Aries journey has been. But because this Mercury is so fast moving, this would be in short bursts of ideas and inspirations rather than a long, drawn out project. Mercury in Gemini is the sprinter, and then Mercury enters Cancer the next day on June 1st. And this is where Mercury now has to voyage into the pool and learn to swim. So Mercury is out of his favorite element of the air signs, now into the watery space of Cancer. And this is where he has to drop into his heart and tune into how he's feeling. And so this is the visual of moving from the head, dropping into the heart, and listening to what has been moving through you internally that you are needing time to sit with, process, contemplate in your own private space and in your own private world. Cancer is an internal energy field that brings you into more of what you need and how you feel under the surface. So it's not what you readily discuss or put out there. Rather, Cancer is returning to your private environment to sit with something and determine, how does this feel? Is this my truth? Does this really align with where I want to direct my mental energy and my self-expression? Mercury in Cancer can bring about more heartfelt conversations. It opens up more vulnerabilities. It also can reconnect you to a part of yourself that you haven't heard in a while. And so Mercury entering Cancer is a time to get quiet with yourself and trust where you're ready to slow down. Now, this is important. These themes are even more important because Mercury is going to have an extended stay in Cancer. Mercury enters Cancer June 1st and stays in this sign until August 9th. And that's because of the upcoming Mercury retrograde in Cancer, which will begin at the end of June. On June 30th at 26 degrees of Cancer, Mercury will retrograde back to 16 degrees of Cancer until July 24th. So the retrograde territory starts at 16 degrees of Cancer, and Mercury will get there on June 12th. So we are not in retrograde territory yet, but for planning purposes, I wanted to give you that heads up. Again, Mercury retrograde starts the end of June and will last through the first 3 weeks of July. And so this is why Mercury has an extended period of time in Cancer and will be traveling behind Jupiter, currently in Cancer, and bringing up new things to process, ponder, and consider that you didn't see before, you didn't feel into deeply. And now Mercury is going to need more privacy to move through anything from the past, old memories, previous experiences, or anything that is potentially lingering that he hasn't found closure on. That can be part of the work and journey of Mercury retrograde in Cancer. I will have a separate Monday podcast for you discussing the upcoming retrograde of Mercury in Cancer very soon. But just a heads up, that again is energy that starts the end of June, but Mercury enters Cancer here on June 1st. Now, as Mercury moves into Cancer, there will be one square to Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees. This occurs on June 3rd. And I say only one square because this is not a square that we will revisit during the Mercury retrograde. So Mercury in Cancer squaring Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees is very indecisive. It's not knowing what to choose, which direction to take, what you're feeling, or what you want. And this could be a time to simply trust that and not force an answer, not force a response or a decision. I realize that isn't always the case in the real world, but if you're having conversations with people during the first week of June, and it seems that people are indecisive, flighty, they disappear, they don't get back to you, that would be this influence of Mercury in Cancer squaring Neptune in Aries. It could even be that people don't fully state what they want or what they need. There can be a retraction here. There's a sense that you're feeling something's off and you don't know why. So the energy of this square is to simply allow things to be and then to ask follow-up questions after the square passes. So as we move further into June, you'll want to have those follow-up discussions or a second round of meetings to clarify details and intention, to ensure you're on the right page, to make sure that nothing has been missed. And this is good to note as we move into June, because Mercury in Cancer, again, is where we keep things close to our chest and we don't want to reveal everything that's on our mind. And you might be sensing that with people that you work with or people that you interact with regularly. There could be a sense of they're holding something back. I don't know what, I just feel it. And it's very important to trust those feelings, because part of this Mercury in Cancer journey is that we eventually gain strength to give our feelings a voice and to say what's really on your mind. And this could be something that you're already good at, but Mercury in Cancer doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, doesn't want anyone to be upset with them or mad at them. And so people hold back their notes or their real feedback because they don't want anyone to be upset or to be offended. It comes from often a very caring place, but there could be a sense here of, okay, I've got to tell them this, or I need to share this. Also, conversely, you could be on the receiving end of that, where people have something to share and they're coming from their heart, but it's something that matters to them and they need you to know. So just know that Mercury in Cancer is going to bring up potential defensiveness. There could be more in play here that triggers people and they don't know why, but this is going to be a time period for us to take a beat, take a break before communicating and before responding. That's to ensure that what you're saying is truthful and real, and it's also a full honoring of how you feel. So that will be a part of the energy in that first week of June as we move into June next Monday. Now, one other aspect to share with you over this week will be on June 2nd. And this is when the Sun in Gemini sextiles Saturn in Aries at 12 degrees. This is strengthening energy. It is strong, clear, creative, social, and clear-minded. June 2nd is a great day for making plans and moving with the decisions and options that came up from the Sagittarius full moon. So 2 days after that Sag full moon, which is on May 31st, June 2nd is a great day to understand this is what I'm doing, this is why, this is what I need to say or express around it, and this is how I'm going to make it happen or make it real. Now, the sextiles can be an influence that we overlook and we miss simply because they are so easy. We can take them for granted, but I would stay aware of what's coming up on June 2nd for you, especially if you have planets or points around 12 degrees of the air signs or the fire signs, because there could be developments here that just click and you don't want to overlook them. You don't want to skip that message in your inbox. This is going to be a day when, wow, this really has legs and this could be something that is real. When you take the brilliance of Gemini and pair it with the commanding influence of Saturn and Aries, there can be things that come to life now at a whole new level and in a whole new way, again, because of what you realized from that Sagittarius full moon. So this is supportive energy for anything that is on your mind. And then the next day, as I mentioned on June 3rd, is where Mercury in Cancer squares Neptune in Aries. And this is that indecisive, uncertain energy where maybe you're realizing, I just want to sit with this at a personal level and not share it with everyone. I want to keep this close to my chest, figure it out, determine more of what aligns for me and with me. And so even though you could have some things that feel very vibrant and energized, there might also be a part of you that is allowing it to simply remain only in your own aura, only in your own energy field as you play with it, sculpt it, determine how you feel and what you really want to create from it. So it's an interesting mix of energies for sure, but it feels quite bubbly and interesting, and you might be pleasantly surprised at what transpires here over this first week in June. Now, I did a separate podcast episode for you on Monday, just a few days ago, about the major astrology of June, which gives you the more important energetic influences of the month. And then it's the Wednesday show where we discuss more of the specifics here of each week. But June, July, and August are all going to be very fast-moving, dynamic months. We have big astrology happening over these next 3 months, including in July, the grand alignment between 4 outer planets, all at 4 degrees of air or fire signs, plus Mars in Gemini conjunct Uranus in Gemini. August is eclipse month with eclipses in Leo and Pisces. Plus we have Jupiter entering into Leo in July, Chiron in Taurus for 3 months from mid-June to mid-September, and the nodes of fate changing signs the end of July. The second half of the year is going to be very different than the first 6 months of 2026. And you might be feeling that throughout June. You might be sensing what is falling off for you, what is being removed and falling away. You might be sensing as well what is strengthening and refining for you that is presenting itself as a clear priority and important endeavor. And so we're going to have a very interesting turn of events and changing over in the collective energies that could be really validating for you. If you've been ready for something and you know it's been bubbling up to the surface and it's ready to come forward, July is certainly going to be a volcanic, dynamic month of movement and shifts. And then August, of course, bringing in the eclipses will also be a big deal. So there is no rest for the weary, but I hope you aren't too weary. I hope overall you feel energized and inspired around what's to come, especially if you've been very intentional with your energy. The universe sees that. The universe knows that. The universe knows your hopes and your dreams and your desires. And this is going to be a timeline of faster moving developments and manifestations because of how crystal clear the energies are. The frequencies move fast, and this can be very jolting. It can be very exciting as well. It's almost like things just show up or transpire out of the blue, but it's never just out of the blue. It's the energy that's been accumulating behind the scenes. It's what's been developing and growing that you've been clearing out, closing out, and removing. It's also what is going to usher in more of the new earth values and new earth energies that we're going to be living with and integrating more easily and effortlessly. We're going to be feeling that we're in those higher frequencies of the 5D. And keep in mind that it's an interesting juxtaposition here because the energies are accelerated. They are more dynamic and fast-paced, as we've been discussing. But at the same time, the 5D frequencies are peaceful and harmonious. They source their energy from light codes, higher vibrations, crystalline energies, and greater purity. And so there could be a sense here that even though things are moving faster, you might feel that your consciousness has shifted and is more readily aligned with these higher frequencies with greater ease, calm, and peace. You could even be feeling a more expanded state of peace, groundedness, calm, and that you're in the world but not of the world. You're aware of the world, but you're also aware of what frequencies you're intentionally interacting with and connecting to. There could also be a greater sense of timelessness, that you have all the time in the world for what you need to get done. You're aware of what your priorities are, and more your priorities and energy might be associated with bliss, happiness, harmony, creativity, and ease of being in the body and being on the planet. Now, I realize that not everyone's going to be feeling like that, but I want to offer that as a way to direct your energy towards something that could feel like it aligns for you. And so if you're not in that current state and that is not your reality, it is, of course, available to you, even amongst the hustle and bustle of some spaces and environments. So if you are moving through downtown Manhattan, those might not be the energies at first you embody and sense. But as your consciousness shifts into those higher frequencies, those energies are available to you everywhere you go, in every environment, in every space. Doesn't matter if you are in a subway or moving through a fast moving intersection, you're still moving with those energies of calm, peacefulness, groundedness, and bliss that are embedded into you. And that's part of what you're bringing into those spaces and environments. And you could even be getting some weird looks from people like, why are you so calm? Why are you so happy? Why are you so peaceful? Why aren't you stressed out? And moving with erratic insanity, which can be so easy to do when we're swept away into these environments that define our energy. But part of the shift of moving on to a higher timeline is that you determine the energy you bring with you everywhere you go. And for many of you, you are the higher frequencies. You are embodying what it means to live life with these new energies, to bring them into these environment and spaces that then change the frequency of those spaces. And that's part of how you could be an energy leader, a new earth way shower, a commanding presence that other people don't understand or don't know how to describe. So you might be getting those weird looks, or people might not get exactly the state of energy you're feeling or sensing, but that's because you are signaling out through your energy field that you embody these higher frequencies and that you're moving through the world with greater intentionality. And that would be a wonderful thing to practice here during Gemini season, as it's very easy to be busy and on the go. But when you are moving through life with higher levels of mindfulness, it changes your whole energy field, especially your aura and your toroidal field. And that frequency change can be subtle to others, and they might not know what's different about you or what they are picking up on because the linear mind doesn't understand it and doesn't have enough information to fully process it or understand it. But the energy field is speaking for itself, and that's why they're picking up on something that is different or unique within you. Over the next half of this year, we're going to feel that more and more people are embodying the crystalline energy field. We're going to sense that more people are purified, cleansed, and clear, that they are holding higher vibrating energies, and that they are more connected to their light body as well. This is worth celebrating. This is so exciting because it means you've deeply cleared out a lot of emotional imprints, healing themes, physical energies, shadow work, inner child work, deep fears. You've purified your vessel, and others are going to be feeling that and sensing it. And it is one of the awesome rewards of this ascension cycle. It also means that you become a stronger magnetic field that pulls in more of what you seek to manifest and create. So this is also part of what we're moving into in the second half of the year, where there's going to be more instantaneous manifestations and developments that just show up. Again, yes, maybe it's been something you've been clearing and working on behind the scenes. Now it comes forward, and things are going to happen for many people that you've been waiting on and waiting for. And other people are going to be scratching their head. How did that happen? How did you get that? How did that come through? What did you do for that job? What did you do to get that offer or that development? They're going to be looking for the logical understanding of it if they are not aware of the energetics and of the ascension cycle that we're in. And so for those of you who have beautiful, well-deserved rewards coming in, what I'm seeing right now is don't shrink or hold back your energy. Expand it out. Make it fuller and stronger. Feel more alive and robust with what you're creating in your life based on what you've been through and what you've determined for yourself. Stand strong in what is showing up for you and what is coming through. Don't hold it back, or don't think you have to diminish it to make others comfortable. Always be wise and always be smart around what you share, how you share it, who is worthy of being a part of your world and your experiences, but don't shrink it down or hold it back. And I say that because I know that so many of you are empaths, and you pick up on how other people feel about what you share, especially if you have something to celebrate. You have something wonderful that came through, an overdue promotion or significant recognition. If there's something arriving for you and you find yourself hesitating in sharing it, this would be an opportunity for you to rework and strengthen your empathic skills, your empathic gifts, so that you don't diminish the power of your energy based on how it's received. If you hold back your good news or your happiness because of how it affects other people, one, you're around the wrong people. Because your people will celebrate with you. Your people will want you to have these awesome manifestations and opportunities. Your people are going to be giving you the best text messages when things come through for you. Those are your people. So you might realize who your people are not if you find you have to hold back your experience. And so this would be something to look at in your own life, in your own journey, especially as an empath, because part of how empaths work is that you already can sense not only how other people feel, but you might have a premonition of how they're going to respond. So therefore you hold back your energy to accommodate them. This is a time to move your energy out, to make it bigger, expand it wider, and not be responsible for their feedback, their responses, their feelings about your experience. Don't allow other people to determine the value or worth of your experiences. This is your lifetime to choose what is best for you. This is where you get to be strong and celebrated in what you're creating and manifesting based on your own journey and your own path. So this is where you own it and you release your own patterns around holding back who you are and who you came here to be. Very important right now because many people are going to have some awesome news, some great breakthroughs, some wonderful developments unfolding in the second half of this year. And so one thing you can do to fully own that energy and to signal to the universe that you're capable of holding it, which is important because the more you're able to signal that you can hold it, the more it strengthens your foundation, your confidence, your power, your sense of self, and also brings in more of the same. So this is interesting because I didn't have this in my notes to discuss today, but here we are. So I trust that this is a message that is right on time for some of you. And if it's not, don't make it fit. But there's something about how the empath, the feeler, the one who picks up on the unspoken in every environment. Now is your turn and your time to strengthen and to be aware of how your empath skills are a gift, but you're not meant to hold back your experience, your choices, or anything about yourself for others. This will also be a big part of the Mercury retrograde and Cancer themes because of how Cancer is very sensitive, kind, loving, nurturing, and giving, but then it's also looking at what you don't say or you don't express because of what it means to put it out there. So I will cover that even more in one of those upcoming episodes. Otherwise, I feel like this is complete for today's show. So as always, thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode. And I continue to appreciate your comments, your likes, your subscribes, and how you share this podcast with others. Thank you so much. It is an absolute joy to connect with so many of you all around the world in over 90 countries. So thank you for traveling with me and connecting here on the podcast. Wishing you a beautiful Sagittarius full moon this weekend and a beautiful entry into June. I will see you next week. Take good care.